like get on and finish the finish.
All right. Good morning. Practice will be inside today with the weather coming in, so just so you know.
A little tight in there, isn't it? 90 guys.
It's gonna be a little snug. It's gonna be a little snug. Yes, it is. We'll make it work.
Doug, have you had any? I mean, obviously, practices are voluntary, but do you expect? What do you expect the numbers to be like? And have you gotten a general idea of who
numbers are going to be great. Really, all but two guys. Sproles and Michael Bennett are the only two really that aren't here. But we've communicated with them. We stay in touch with them, and sound like a broken record, but it is a voluntary program, and two guys that I don't have a lot of concern as far as their ability to help us win games, because they're veteran players and they know how to get themselves ready to go.
With the veterans who are here, do you have to manage them a little bit this spring based on the short layoff?
Yeah, I mean, we'll do our best to manage some guys. We have a list of injured players and guys that we want to make sure we kind of rest during this time. You got to understand that we're a month later, and so our full recovery time has been less. So that's something you got to understand. And so from that standpoint, I've got to do my job and be smart with how we handle some of our veteran players.
Doug, when do you expect to have Brandon Graham back, and what did he have done to his ankle?
Well, I think that obviously had his ankle cleaned out. I'm no medical expert, so don't quote me on that one. But listen, he's another one that we just gotta manage. Obviously, when you see him, he's in a cast, so we can't do much with him right now, and hopefully we get him back before too long.
In Sidney Jones' case, do you view him almost like a rookie, or is he ready to be a starting caliber player in that mix at this point?
Well, I think definitely in the mix. What he did towards the end of last season and had a chance to get in that last game there with Dallas really, I think, boosted his confidence going into this offseason. Now that he's had a full offseason now with Coach Unlin and Schwartz's defense, so he's definitely going to be in the mix, and it's going to be good for him and a lot of our young players. These next 10 practices.
From what you can tell, how's Carson feeling about, I guess, his, for lack of a better way of putting it, his place in the team, the locker room, all that kind of stuff, and just because of circumstance, he's a little bit on the outside looking in, from last year. How does that change things now with all of it?
Well, listen, I think with any injury, you feel like you might be on the outside looking in, but he's not that type of guy. He's right in the mix. He's in that quarterback room. He's in the offensive room. He's in my office. We're still talking about plays and situations, and so he's very much involved. Just not going through the actual practice at this time. So with all the injured players, I want to make sure that they're out there with their guys. They're communicating. They're veteran players, obviously, so they can help some of the younger guys and be a part of the football team. But yeah, he's still leading the team and doing everything that he can at this time.
Your improvement last year, Doug, on third down and in the red zone. How important was this time of year in laying the groundwork for that improvement?
I think it's extremely important, and I think it did help us by situationally me setting up practices designed to hit those specific areas, and those are things that we're going to continue to do throughout this whole OTA process now these next few weeks. So exposing our guys to those situations obviously helps. Offensively, defensively, plays, defenses, things of that nature, as coordinators, as play callers, working on that and coming up with the best plan going forward. But definitely helped us, going into camp and obviously the season.
Hey, Doug, Michael Bennett, is his absence related at all to the legal stuff, or what's your read there?
No, not at all. Again, voluntary program, so nothing about that at all.
Given that he's new to the system, I mean, what are your thoughts on on him being able to acclimate, given that he's missing some time early on?
I really don't have any concern, going forward with him, acclimating himself to the defense. I mean, it's, you've been around long enough to understand Jim's style and what we teach, and it fits his strength, and that's roll off the ball, as a D lineman. So it's just a matter of getting him in here and getting around his teammates.
Besides the physical aspect of these voluntary workouts, there's been a lot of talk about keeping the culture the same. How is that instilled in some of the new guys right now?
Well, it's really about the communication, from me when I stand up here and address the team every morning, and then it's the veteran players that were here a year ago and really have been with me the last 2 years. Just bringing them along and them fitting into what we're doing, and that's the thing, is being consistent with that, with the messaging, with the way we handle our business when we're in the building, and then the ownership of putting it back on the players, the veteran players, and letting them control the environment a little bit. And obviously it starts with me, but I do rely on the players quite a bit to keep that culture going.
Because you have so many guys who are recovering from injuries and whatnot, like how important, I mean, Zach mentioned Sidney Jones, like how important are these OTAs for a lot of your young guys, such as Sidney, the guys you drafted this past month and everything like that?
I'm excited, really going forward these next few weeks to see some of our younger players, guys that were on our practice squad, a year ago, guys that were maybe role or situational players a year ago, to our draft picks, to our undrafted free agents, to the new free agents on our team. I'm excited to watch them. Again, practice. We've got some young, talented guys that we need to find out. We need to get some answers on some players, and this is the time to do that.
Doug, you mentioned at your last presser that Carson hasn't been cleared to do anything. What did you mean exactly by that? Because he's been, we've seen video of him throwing and all that stuff.
All that you're seeing is part of his rehab. So it's part of his process of getting back, to 100%. So what you're seeing is all part of his process and his rehab process, each day, and it changes each day based on what our medical staff and doctors want him to do, but he, with injuries like that, obviously, not being cleared to participate in a practice setting, right now, but at the same time he can maintain that rehab conditioning part.
Doug, do you expect Bennett to be here for any of the OTAs?
I do. So I'm not concerned, but I do expect him here. Yes.
I know you and Coach Wright, you guys had a close relationship. You got Coach Wright.
Oh, Coach Wright, yeah.
You had the meetings before games and things like that. Now you have Mike Rowe here. This point in time, how are you guys coming along with that relationship, and how important is this time frame for him to lay that foundation to replace Coach Wright?
Yeah, our relationship, Mike and I mean, it's really a good one. Obviously, it started last year, but carried over to this offseason, and what we did through our scheme evaluation, going back through our offense, and he and I meeting, on several occasions, just to kind of go through everything, and my expectation, obviously, of him and what he's going to bring to the table. And he worked closely with Frank, so he saw firsthand exactly how Frank and I interacted and things we did. So I'm encouraged by where he's at and what he's doing. He's doing an outstanding job right now, and the key is just he and I staying, having that open dialogue and that open communication, much like Frank and I had, and that's something that if he has questions or if I have questions, we bounced a lot of stuff off each other and ask a lot of questions, and that's what you got to have in order for this to work.
This is the first time you've had the whole group together. Veterans, rookies. Do you have any big message to them at this point, or is that something that comes later in the offseason?
It comes a little bit later. This is a time to really kind of get back into football a little bit, to see again the young talent that you have, develop those guys. The thing is with some of your veteran players, you know what you got, with them. You don't necessarily need to see a ton of work out of those guys, but at the same time, you want just enough so that when they come back for training camp, they're also ready to go.
Doug, where do you think you stand with the trip to the White House? Have you talked to players or the
team or any individuals? What's your feeling?
Well, right now, obviously, June 5th is the day we're going to go, and excited to be going, be honored as world champions. You know, I think it's a great honor. We're still working through some logistics right now, so we don't have all the details of the day, but excited to be going.
Is it okay for players not to go? I mean, is that up to them? You leave that at them?
It's an individual basis. You know, it's one of those things that, again, we're working through a ton of things, but at the same time, we understand that it's an individual decision.
Doug, is Corey Graham a player that you want to bring back?
You know, if it works out, would love to have him. His veteran leadership brings a a level of not only competition but depth to the safety room. So if it works out, it'd be great.
Doug, last year we saw someone like Nelson Aguilar thrive in the spring, and he had an injury to Jordan Matthews. Yeah, obviously had a lot of injuries here. What's the message to players who are maybe a little lower in the depth chart in terms of the importance of this period?
Well, again, it's kind of in their behalf. It kind of it benefits some of the younger players because of some of the injuries and some of the things we're going to do with managing players. Where now this time of year they're going to get a ton of practice reps. In the next few weeks. So my message to them is just to come to work every day ready to go and be prepared. It'll be a great opportunity for them.
You had so many players last year who had chips on their shoulders and they used it as motivation. Now that they're coming back after winning a Super Bowl, how do you kind of manufacture that?
Well, we also have a couple players with chips on their shoulders because they weren't in that final game, and that's a motivating factor not only for them but can feed to the rest of the football team. I'm talking about the Jason Peters, the Carson Wentz, the Chris Maragoses, those guys, Darren Sproles, who, sat on the sideline with me and watched that game. So there's motivation right there. So, and that's going to fuel, I believe, some of the emotion as we get closer to training camp and towards the regular season. So, I want to lean on that. I want to embrace that, and those guys are going to bring a level of energy and excitement to the rest of the team.
In Nick Foles' case, he had the elbow soreness throughout the offseason last year. Are you going to manage his reps throughout these next few months to see more of Nate Sudfeld, or do you treat Nick like the first? I'm going to manage him, but not because of the elbow. Again, I do want to see Nate. I want to see him, a little more extensively with the offense. So, I'll make sure that Nick gets just enough work to make sure he's ready to go for camp. But at the same time, I want to see Nate and Joe and see what they can do.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, guys.